Hello everybody, and welcome to Check It Out, the monthly show about what is happening at the Bethel Park Public Library. I'm Mary Mullen.
I'm Elaine Volpe.
And Elaine and I are here today to tell our viewers about what's coming up at the library during September. And it's going to be a busy month, right? I assume for you.
Back to school and back to our library programs as well. We start on the same day, actually, September 12th, so that's easy to remember.
Okay.
So should I go first? Talk about what's happening on the children's side?
Yeah, let's hear what's happening on the children's side first today.
Well, first I just want to say, last month on the show we wished everybody a happy and successful school year because I knew a lot of families were already getting into the back to school mode. But really we know that school for Bethel doesn't start until September 12th, so they still had some time. So I just want to reiterate those thoughts and wish everybody, again, a happy and healthy and successful academic school year. And as I just mentioned, our programs are starting the same day that classes resume for Bethel Park students. That's September 12th, the week of September 12th. All of our regular programming, that means all the story times, Giggle and Wiggle, Super Kids, and our preschool Spanish class will start that week. Okay. And then there's some other programs that I wanted to highlight as well.
What fun stuff is happening?
And I should mention, our flyers are ready. They have gone to print and they are ready for pickup. You can get these at the library desk in the children's department, or you can access them online. Simply go to www.bethelparklibrary.org and then click on Children on the left-hand side, and then you want to go to bpkidsblogspot.com, and that's how you can view these online. Okay? But some of the programs that I wanted to highlight were a teddy bear picnic coming up on September 9th at 6 p.m. It's actually Teddy Bear Day, so that's why I thought it'd be fun to do a teddy bear picnic. So bring your favorite bear to the library, and we're going to have an extra special story time. Mr. Penworthy is going to be my guest.
Okay. Oh, he's a very handsome bear.
Yes, really I have lots of favorite bears, but he's been keeping me company most recently.
He's a softie.
Upstairs in my office.
He's nice. He's
nice. Looks cute in his overalls. I might make him a special hat for the occasion. Okay. So feel free to dress up your bear if you want for the teddy bear picnic.
Will there be treats at the teddy bear
picnic?
Well,
of course.
Okay.
You have to have treats
at a picnic. Will you have Teddy Grahams?
That's what I was thinking. Well, other things in mind, but of course we're going to have some Teddy Grahams and some lemonade, and we'll see what else.
That sounds like fun.
So it does not say in the flyer to register, but registration would be helpful just so I have an idea of how many people to expect. So please register for the Teddy Bear Picnic on September 9th at 6 p.m. We'll have a lot of fun. And then a couple days later on the 11th, we're going to celebrate Grandparents' Day together at 2 p.m. on Sunday. You can come to the library for, again, an extra special sort of story time. We're going to talk about what it means to be a grandparent or a grandchild, for that matter, and we're going to make a special keepsake craft to take home.
Okay. It's Grandparents' Month, right?
Grandparents Day. The 11th is National Grandparents' Day, but I think we do celebrate grandparents all month. Heck, we should celebrate grandparents year-round, right?
Yes.
But definitely on Sunday the 11th. So make sure you sign up for that one. And then September is Better Breakfast Month, and we talked about, I think on the last show, we at least mentioned why breakfast is the most important meal of the day, or that it is the most important meal of the day. And so we are celebrating Better Breakfast Month each Saturday in September at 10 a.m. Miss Becky is going to give us healthy recipe ideas.
Oh, I love breakfast.
Quick and healthy recipe ideas, something that you can make before you get going every morning, before you head out the door.
Yeah, that's a challenge, I think, for everybody.
It is. I said that on the next, I'm guilty myself. I don't always do breakfast, and I should.
My husband would rather sleep than eat in the morning, I think. And I think a lot of people feel
that
way.
Not me. See, I'd always rather eat. But getting up and making it is sometimes you just don't have the time or whatever the case may be. So celebrate Better Breakfast Month with us. That's a tongue twister. Say that one 3 times fast.
I won't today.
And please sign up for that one as well so we have an idea of how many to expect. On September 17th, we're offering a new program entitled Recycling with Tweets.
Recycling with Tweets.
We have Miss Georgia Field, who's a local resident, willing to do this class for us. We're really excited for her to come. She knows a lot about nature, birds in particular. She has a parrot named Percy that is quite entertaining. I live for the Percy stories. They're quite funny. Percy will not be making an appearance at the library, but Georgia can tell you all about him and all about different species of birds, all different kinds. And then, and why birds benefit us, how birds benefit us, what kinds of birds we see in our backyard every day. And then we're going to make an environmentally safe bird feeder to take home. So that's a really neat class. It is intended for child and caregiver. So when you call to register your child, know that you will be staying for that class as well.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. You know, it's
Yes.
funny when you said recycling with tweets, I was thinking about Twitter, and I'm thinking,
Oh, tweets, Twitter.
I wonder how you recycle Twitter tweet. Oh, never mind.
Different kinds
Talk
of
about
tweets.
tongue twisters.
Yeah,
I'm going to get
for
myself
sure.
into big trouble. I'm going to stop right here.
So those are just some of the children's programs that are coming up in September. The teen programs are just as exciting, and our teen flyer is also done. It looks like this. Again, available for pickup upstairs. It'll also be sent home with the first e-newsletter that the school district sends out. So we're trying to save paper. We're trying to go green and not copy, because it really was thousands that we were sending to the schools. So you're not going to be getting it, you know, sent home with your child's folder like you might be used to, but you will be getting it through email distribution. And again, you can access it on our website. But the teen programs that I wanted to mention was something called Fun with Fabric, where Miss Lynn's going to teach the kids how to dye fabric with things that you already have at home. Things that you already have in your kitchen. We're talking about dyeing fabric with coffee, tea, berries.
Oh, I
Things like
do that all the time. Every day I
Me too.
Unintentional dyeing.
This
you might
is
call
more
that.
the instruction of it. Okay, so you're going to be getting a small piece of fabric, and she'll be teaching you how to do it. And then once you know the technique, you can of course do it at home yourselves and maybe make, you know, head scarves or neck scarves and belts and different types of things with it. But this class is just an introduction class and a how-to. Okay? And then on October 5th, it's early in October, so I wanted to mention it on this show. Miss Dawn will be teaching any interested teens how to, it's called Stamp Fancy, how to make your own gift cards or your own homemade note cards, something that looks a little like this.
Yes, we
Brought a
were
couple
looking
different
at
examples.
these earlier,
So-
and they're lovely.
Right, and it's more than just rubber stamping. It's the paper laying and the ribboning and the embellishing and the embossing. And I didn't know too much about embossing, but I guess it's when you use a special type of stamp pad with a special powder. When the powder goes over the ink, it kind of gives that raised
And you have to
effect,
heat it.
3D.
I think
Right,
you have
right.
to heat it, and it gives that raised,
that
kind of
raised, shiny effect. You can see that this
And
example.
I thought the nice thing about all of these cards was that they're very attractive, but very simple techniques that anybody can do.
Absolutely.
Anyone can do.
Absolutely, with just scraps of paper that you already have, you know, leftover Christmas ribbon or whatever it may be. Yeah, you don't really need to go out and buy anything.
Yeah, little buttons. If you've got your button jar, you know, just little pieces of things. And,
Anything can go
and
on
that's
there.
always so
And we were
nice to get
talking
a
before-
personal.
We were talking about before the show. It is. It's more personal. It's more meaningful. So whenever you have a little thank you note to send, or a, you know, even if it's just a hello, why not make your own card? And save money too, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
she will be conducting that class on October 5th, but you may begin registering mid-September. And then I also just wanted to mention that September is National Library Card Sign-Up Month.
That's right. I forgot
So
about
if
that.
viewers out there do not have a library card, now is September's the time to come on in and get it. And it's very simple. You'll fill out a little application that looks like this. And you'll want to remember to bring some form of identification with you. If you don't have a driver's license, it can be any other proof of address. Once that's complete,
if
you get a
if you have a
card.
bill with
Yeah,
your
everybody has bills.
Everyone has bills. If you have a bill with your address,
That would
on
work
it,
too.
That'll
Right.
work. That'll work.
But once that's completed, then you get a handy dandy card that looks like this.
Oh.
Oops. One for your keychain as well. We'll go ahead and just break that off. And it's your key to the land of books and so much more, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, and then one other thing that I wanted to mention before I turn it over to you, Mary, is the library will be conducting another monthly fundraiser. This will run through September and October. But we're selling the entertainment book, which I think is a great value. I get one every year, and we use it, you know, every Friday for pizza takeout. We use it. It has the dine-in card. So you're offered savings when you dine in somewhere. You just need to show the card. But then it's also jam-packed with lots of coupons, too.
Ooh, there are a
For
lot.
not just restaurants, but for clothing stores and music stores and whatever it may be. So $30 this year. And the good news is the library will get half of that in profit. So help support the library and purchase your entertainment book through us this year. We would greatly appreciate it.
Then you can go out to eat.
And who doesn't love that, right? And there's many, many places to choose from. That's one of the things I like. I always discover a new restaurant that I never heard of when I get the entertainment book every year. So I will now pass it on to you, Mary. What's going on your side?
Well, we are equally busy over in the adult side of the library. First week in September, we have two programs actually. On the first Wednesday evening of September, that's September the 7th, we have one program called The Amazing Monarch Butterfly. And this is going to be presented by a local resident, Sue Means. And Sue has been raising butterflies for 16 years. And she's
an expert.
She's an expert. And she's going to talk about raising butterflies and also talk a little bit about the monarch butterflies. And I don't remember if
Very interesting.
I don't know if we talked about this last time or not. I think
we might have touched upon it.
And, you know, they have this very lengthy migration. They go all the way to Mexico. And it's not even the same generation of butterflies. Somehow these succeeding generations of butterflies know to migrate south to Mexico and then come all the way back.
Which is amazing.
Which is incredible. So that's Wednesday evening, September 7th at 7 o'clock. Also that night, our adult story time with our director, Christine McIntosh, will resume. That'll be also at 7 o'clock, so we'll be busy on that night. If you have a student who is thinking about college, and one of the things you have to think about when you're looking for colleges is about taking the SATs. And your students will have the opportunity to take a practice SAT test here at the library on Saturday, September 10th. So call the library to get some more information about signing up for that. If you sign up for it, you've got to bring the number 2 sharpened pencil. Remember the number 2
probably
pencil?
more than one. Yeah.
Right. You could fill in those little. I assume. It's been so long. I assume. Are they still?
I would
filling
imagine
in
it's the same. I'm
little
not
bubbles?
sure myself.
I don't know.
But it is great, just so they know what to expect.
Right.
I mean, it's really a great idea.
I think I would have appreciated that opportunity just to have just a dry run on what is a very critical item for a college application. Yep. So Saturday, September 10th, and that will be from 11 to 3 o'clock. And then also we have a couple of programs for business owners, marketing people, entrepreneurs, anyone that owns a business and would like to take more use of the social networking websites. And these programs are going to be presented by Cindy Rack, who is the CEO of Social Voice Marketing. And the first program will be Thursday, September 15th at 7 o'clock, and that is called Optimize LinkedIn for Business Growth. And then the following Thursday, the 22nd, she's going to be doing a program on using Facebook for business owners. So if you are somebody who has their own business, I think utilizing
most businesses now, and everywhere you go, you see like us on Facebook. You know, so it really is becoming a more and more of a growing thing.
So those two programs will be available in September. On Saturday, September 17th at 10 a.m., we have a free workshop. It's entitled Encouraging the Autistic Child to Thrive, and this is presented by the Western Pennsylvania Society for Adlerian Psychology. And they have been doing many educational workshops here at the library. Again, this will also offer continuing education credits, and that is on I'll try that again. Saturday, September 17th at 10 o'clock. We have another author book signing, another local author who will be signing his book. Richard Wahlberg will be here on, let me get the right date on this one. Let me turn my papers here. That is Wednesday, September 21st at 7 o'clock. And he is a member of our local writers group, the Pittsburgh South Writers Group, and his first book is called I don't know if it's his first book, but his newest book is The Quick and the Dead, which is a piece of historical fiction set at the time of the Russian Revolution. And it's actually based on the life of an actual historical figure from that time period. So he's going to be here also to talk about writing a novel and signing his book. And so that's Wednesday, September 21st at 7 o'clock. Our genealogy group will resume meeting on Monday, September 26th at 7 p.m. They were taking a little summer hiatus, so they will be back. And we're going to have, this is an interesting class that we're going to be offering, a pet first aid class.
I don't always think about that. And I don't have pets, so maybe you do. But, you always hear of the child and the infant CPR classes that are offered, and that's always, for new parents especially, first and foremost, like they're wanting to take. But you don't really think about first aid for your pet.
Yeah, and I think,
and I'm sure,
I don't have any pets either, but I'm sure if you are a pet owner, if your pet falls ill or there seems to be some sort of issue, it's
what do you do?
What do you do? What do you do? Well, this class will answer some of those questions. It's going to touch on some of the more common situations that might be encountered, such as choking, CPR for cats and dogs. That could be.
Again, I don't have pets. I can't imagine doing that.
I can't either, but. And also hot weather safety precautions, of course, which is a very important topic.
That's a very important
How to protect your pet during the hot weather. So the program is free, but space is limited, and that is Wednesday, September 28th at 7 o'clock. And also want to mention another library fundraiser that is going on right now. That's our Flower Power fundraiser. We've done this a couple of seasons. And you can beautify your garden by buying some bulbs here at the library, and all the benefit. And of course, it's a fundraiser, so you have a beautiful garden and you help raise a little bit of money for the library. That fundraiser will end on September 10th. So time's kind of running out. So stop by and take a look at the catalog and pick up some beautiful bulbs to make your garden beautiful next spring. Our Wise Walk program has already started. We started a little bit early this year. We had our first meeting last Thursday. So we will be walking, as always, on Thursday mornings at 9:30 a.m. in South Park, and we meet at the Children's Playground parking lot. You can sign up at any time. You can join us at any time. We have a nice big group this fall.
Again, the weather's getting better.
The weather's been nice. We've got about 20, 25 walkers. So come walk with us on Thursday mornings. So that's, just as you are busy in the children's department, we are going to be very busy in the adult programming area also. So as always, if you need any more information about any of the upcoming events here at the library, you can
give us a call.
You can click on the website.
Or better yet, stop in and see us in person.
Okay. Now, we have a very special guest today, and I want everybody to stay tuned. And a way of introducing our guest, I want to share this book. I don't know if we've brought the book before. Have we? I don't think we have. I don't think we have. I don't know how many of our viewers know that this is the 125th anniversary of Bethel Park. And this book is called simply Bethel Park, and it is part of a series from Images of America, and has wonderful vintage photographs of Bethel Park, showing Bethel Park at all different times of history. And in honor of celebrating this event, our special guest today is Pat Kraft. And I met with Pat and her husband Dick last month at the Bethel Presbyterian Church. And the Bethel Presbyterian Church has a long connection with Bethel Park history. And Pat and Dick are on the historical committee for the church, and they gave me a tour of the historical room. And have you ever watched Antiques Roadshow?
Mm-mm.
No.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
I love Antiques Roadshow. My husband and I watch it, and we're always amazed by the treasures that people have in their homes that they have no idea on the value of these items. And just love it when somebody brings in an item for appraisal and then they are told how much this thing costs, and my husband and I, we always get it wrong. We're like, we look this way, and then it's like, $250,000 or some ridiculous amount of money. But there are a lot of treasures in this very tiny room. We talked about filming on location, but there was no way we could get the cameras and all of us in this tiny little room, which I say is small but mighty, because it's packed with treasures that document the early history of the church and Bethel Park. So Pat's going to be here today. She's going to bring in some of the treasures from the room, and we're going to get the opportunity to share them with our viewers. And this book is on sale here at the library and at other locations throughout Bethel Park. So if you are a Bethel Park resident and you'd like to purchase this book, you can come to the library. And you know, you and I have done Fact and Fiction, right?
Yes, and we're supposed to keep up with that and do it every month. So I'm excited you found one for this month.
I actually found one for this month from the back cover of the Bethel Park book. Fact or Fiction? Let's see. The first documented armed car robbery in the United States occurred in Bethel Park. Fact or fiction?
It's a good one.
Fiction.
It is a fact. It is a fact. We'll give the answer right away. It is a fact. It happened here in 1927. And actually it was, let me see, I got my print, went to the famous Wikipedia. Let's see what we've got. It was the Flatheads Gang. That was the name of it. Flatheads
like
Gang.
Cloverdale Mine.
Okay. At that time, you know, there were a lot of mining was going on.
Right.
And they actually stopped a vehicle that had the mining payroll inside. And it says the Flatheads Gang destroyed the road with dynamite to steal a mining payroll. So it happened right here in Bethel Park. Did you know that Andy Warhol is buried here in Bethel Park?
I did know that.
Okay,
Yes.
so we got a lot of things going on in Bethel Park.
Indeed,
so.
we do.
All right, I want everybody to stay tuned for our special guest, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Check It Out. Elaine and I are here today with our very special guest, and I introduced her in our first segment. This is Pat Kraft. I want to welcome Pat to Check It Out today.
Thank you.
Pat is helping us with our 125th year celebration of Bethel Park. And as I've already told our viewers that I got the opportunity to visit with you and your husband, Dick,
Yes,
at the historical room at the Bethel Presbyterian Church. So,
yes. Our historical room is very nice. We have a lot of interesting things, but it's very small.
as I described it as small but mighty, I said. Small but mighty.
There's a lot of interesting things there that we can talk about, and we can show people if they're interested in seeing it. We can do it by appointment. We schedule appointments to show people the historical room since it is so very small, and we don't have it open to the public on a regular basis, just on special occasions.
And the history of Bethel Park and the Bethel Presbyterian Church are very closely linked, right?
They are, because Bethel Church was actually the start of Bethel Park. The early Scottish settlers came here, and they started their church by meeting in homes because they didn't have a church yet. And Reverend McMillan came and preached the first service on November 5th of 1776, and that was considered to be the start of the congregation. Then the community was named after Bethel. It was originally Peters Creek, and then it was West Peters Creek and East Peters Creek. But when Dr. Clark came, he renamed it Bethel and Lebanon as more biblical names. They split it because of the different distance people had to come.
And people did have to travel quite a distance.
They did. Some of the Lebanon church is over by the airport, the county airport.
And people would travel from this area that far?
Right. Yeah. South Park was where the original gathering was.
So when the Reverend McMillan preached in November of 1776, was he at the Oliver Miller homestead
Yes,
site? Is that
that's where they met.
Okay.
And they had their services there, reading scripture and praying, and just their regular little service of worship without the benefit of a minister until he came. He did several mission trips to the West from Philadelphia. He was considered the apostle to the West.
Okay.
And of course, he traveled on horseback through very rough country. And we were going to talk about the saddlebags.
Yeah, let's talk about the saddlebags, because I've already seen those.
Well,
let's show our viewers the saddlebags.
Reverend McMillan would have had a saddlebag of this sort in which he carried various things with him. He would have letters that he would deliver to people.
So he was also a mailman in addition to
Right,
being
he
a
had
preacher.
a packet of letters that he would carry from the east to the people in the west. He would have his Bible, a little Bible that he carried with him. And he had a journal that he recorded what he did from time to time. And in that journal, it tells of his stop in Peters Creek for the first service there, and he baptized 5 children while he was there. And of course, he would have carried an inkwell and quill so that he could make his notes and write letters. He would have that in there. He would have a little purse with some coins, some early English coins.
You know, the extraordinary thing about not only the Reverend McMillan, but the people that I've read about is the distances they traveled, and the fact, like Oliver Miller, and many of these, this area was founded by Scotch-Irish, people of Scotch-Irish descent, right?
There were some German, but they were mostly Scotch-Irish.
And many of these early settlers, like Oliver Miller, had immigrated from Ireland. Am I correct on that?
Yes, from Scotland to Northern Ireland, and then to America from there.
Okay. But once they got here, then they still kept moving around.
Well, when they came, they weren't welcome in the Philadelphia area because that was all Quakers and heavily English. So they had to move further in. They moved into the Lancaster area, basically. And as land opened up, land didn't open up here for settlement until 1768, when William Penn purchased the land from the Indians. It had been Virginia territory, but then there was a dispute about the territory for some time there until the Mason-Dixon line. But some people considered themselves Virginians, some Pennsylvanians there. But that it didn't open until 1768 for settlement. And people like the Millers came around 1770. and some of the others came in the next few years. There were still Indians in the area.
That's right. When you and I talked, and also in the material that you gave me to read, you talked about that the first meeting house for the church was, am I correct, across the street
From where the present
where
church.
the present?
It was about across from where the cemetery is, was
Okay.
where the first church was built. Because they had talked about building one over near Oliver Miller Homestead on Rhodes property, which is right beside South Park there. But this was more centrally located for people, and it had the protection of the fort.
Right. Couch's
Fort was built right down below there, and the first piece of property was purchased from Nathan Couch. He had purchased an acre of property to build the first church on.
And people would then go to the fort in the event if they,
if they
were
heard
anticipating an Indian raid.
if they heard that Indians were raiding in the area, they would go down to the fort for protection.
They were a hardy group of people, those
They
early
were.
settlers.
They were tough.
I mean, if you think about it, they came.
They
many
came
of them
with
from Europe.
their rifles, their Bibles, and their faith.
That's it. And they had large families.
They did, because
Oliver Miller had 10 children, right?
They all had large farms. The property was very inexpensive, so they bought a lot of land when they came. And they had very large families to work the land, and then later a lot of the land was split between the family members.
I mean, Elaine, if you think about how just moving your two boys around,
Sure.
just getting them in the car and going places,
Right.
And here
Right.
were these
Yeah,
families
it's amazing. It really is.
They moved large families, and they would try. Oliver Miller came from Maryland at one point, and he was in Bedford, and then he ended up out here.
Yeah, most of them came into central Pennsylvania before they came west, because that's where the Scotch-Irish settlements were, in the Lancaster area. Of course, there were German settlers in that area too, so when they moved west, there were some of each, but mostly the Scotch-Irish.
What other treasures would you like to share with us? What else do we
let
have?
me get some of this out of the way here. Okay, we have a bell from the Bethel Academy.
Thank you, Elaine.
Dr. George Marshall built the Bethel Academy in 1835, and that was the first secondary school in the area. And the bell was used to...
That made your sign go up.
The bell was used to call the students to class. And it was used at the end of the day to let the parents know that they were on the way home.
That's a good technique, right?
Right, yeah.
If you had a child that was loitering, the parent
Right.
would say, "I heard the bell, right? I knew
you should be on your way home,
you should
right?"
be home a lot sooner than that.
When the second Bethel Academy was built, the first one they only had for 15 years maybe, and then they built a second building with 2 stories, and they had a belfry there that they had a regular big bell in it. Well, when they tore that down they built the third church for us, and they put the belfry in that church. They put the bell in the belfry of the third church, and it is currently in the belfry of the fourth church, the present church. Right. So that bell traveled around a bit and has been well used.
When did the church? What time did the church start at its current location? I know you've had four churches. Right,
1909 to 1910, that building was built.
Okay.
It was dedicated in 1910.
But you had 2 other
Yes.
worship other sites on that.
Right. The first
on that
church
side of the
was
street,
built
right?
in 1779 to 1781, and it was the one that was across from the present cemetery.
Okay.
It was a log church. And then the second church was built next to the cemetery, and it was a brick church, and the bricks were fired on the premises there. So then some of those bricks were used in the third church, which was built on the current site of the fourth church. They had to tear that down before they could build the fourth church. So they held services in the high school while they were building the fourth church.
and it was at the second meeting house. Was the second pastor was Reverend Clark? Am I right on?
He was the first pastor.
He was the first pastor, but he was the pastor that was in residence during the Whiskey Rebellion.
Yes,
right?
yes, and he tried to discourage them from marching on Neville's house, but they weren't easily discouraged. They just went right ahead.
I was reading about that this morning. They pretty much ignored his advice.
Right, yeah, they went and burned down the Neville house. One of the Miller sons were killed in he died the next day, but he was wounded in the battle that they had there, and then he died the next day from his wounds.
Mm-hmm. How many pastors have you had at your church?
We're on our 13th right now.
So only 13 pastors.
Right, some of them were there for
I
40 years.
Expected more. That's interesting.
Some were in residence for a long period of time.
Yeah, some of them averaged about 40 years in the early days. Not as long now. They're averaging more like 6 years now.
Mm-hmm. And many of them are buried in the cemetery?
Yes, all but 2 of the ones that have been deceased are buried at the cemetery there.
I know your husband and I walked around the cemetery, which is also a fascinating bit of history there. How many Revolutionary War soldiers?
Oh, I don't know exactly how many they do have, but they have at least a dozen or so from the Revolutionary War. But they have some from each war.
Each war, okay. And I know he also told me that there are still members in the current congregation whose families have been here since the beginning. That's incredible, all that time span, and you still have descendants.
Right, we do.
Perhaps sitting in the same areas that their ancestors sat in, right?
Yeah, people tend to sit in the same pews all this time.
Well, that's very true. That's true. I think that's true in any church, all right? I think Elaine would agree with me. We all tend to, when we go to church, we just
sit in the same spot.
We sit in the same spot.
Right. You don't meet the other people that way.
I know. Let's take a look at this because.
Okay.
I think you might be able to reach that. Oh, and we have to talk about the foot warmers too. That's the other thing. All right. This is will know what this is right away.
A rye straw basket that was used in the first church to take the collection. They later used a cloth basket, which we have a replica of in the historical room, but I didn't bring that along. But the reason they had these long stems was the pews had doors on them.
Okay.
So they were able to pass this through the pew for the collection.
For the collection.
But they did have doors on the pews, and each family had their own pew. They had their names on them because they purchased the pews in those days.
Okay. So you sat only
in your pew.
In your pew. Now, did everybody in the church have to purchase a pew, or were there seating for non-paying people?
There was general seating in the back. Seating. Most of the paid people had the front pews.
Okay, naturally.
They were the important people.
They were the important ones. They got up front.
Of course, a lot of people who couldn't pay for their pews or contribute in cash would contribute in farm materials. They would bring bags of wheat or flour that was milled, or corn, or might bring a chicken or two.
Okay.
Or bags of apples, whatever they had that they could contribute, and that was part of the pastor's pay.
I was going to say that was part of the pastor's salary, right?
Right.
He might get a bushel of apples for a collection one day.
Right.
Certainly, I'm sure well appreciated.
I'm
sure.
But anyway, we have a foot warmer.
Foot warmer. Now, when I first saw this, I thought, boy, I could even use that nowadays in my office during the wintertime.
Well, there was no heat in the early churches, so they put coal in the foot warmer and had it all heated up and brought it to church and put their feet on it.
So you rested your feet right on top. That's how
right.
Okay.
Did Did the early churches have kneelers, or were they
No,
that? They
no,
did not
the-
have kneelers, right?
No, the Presbyterian Church doesn't have kneelers.
Do you not have kneelers
No,
now? There are no kneelers in your church.
Not
Okay.
in Presbyterian
Not in
Church.
Presbyterian churches, no kneelers.
Right.
Okay, but boy, those foot warmers, I bet those were
Yeah.
those were handy dandy. I can't imagine those churches in those cold winter days. No heat, no heat at all.
Well, finally, by the third one, they had a pot-belly stove in there, but the early churches didn't, so they had to carry their own heat.
They carry their own heat. Do you have a favorite item among all of the treasures in the historical room? Is there one thing that's one of your favorites?
Oh, I don't know. We have a lot of things of interest depending on who we're showing it to, what might be of interest to them.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Marshall's burying and marrying coat we have.
I remember we looked at that.
Right. We have another one, I think, that belonged to a Reverend Ryder in the cupboard, but we keep the Marshall one on display there.
Okay, and that was a coat that he wore just for
That
certain
was very special occasions.
special, just for marrying
And burying,
marrying and burying his congregation.
Right. But that's one of the things people are usually interested in. We have a large desk, schoolhouse desk from the Bethel Academy, and a large school desk also from Bethel Academy. We have some items from the Coverdale Mission, which was built when the miners were here.
And that part was very interesting because I knew nothing about the Coverdale Mission at all.
That's a whole story in itself, it's the Coverdale mines and the people there who were very dependent on the mine company for their living.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get paid in wages as such. They had credit at the store, and they had to buy everything through the company store. And they had a very poor standard of living.
Mm-hmm.
But the church established a mission there with Karla Strobel, a missionary from Czechoslovakia.
I remember we talked about that. That was very interesting. Tell our viewers a little bit about this woman because.
Well, she was very dedicated, and everybody in Coverdale knows of Karla Strobel because they all grew up with her in there. She had schooling and Sunday school classes there. So they got their education and their religion there through Karla Strobel. But she became a legend there in Coverdale.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the people that grew up in Coverdale remember Karla.
Mm-hmm. What is when you were showing me around, we talked about there was one or two items that you said that were the most valuable items within the collection?
Yes, we have a China doll that came from the Wyckoff family, which was he was the fourth pastor. And that doll and the little quilted blanket were appraised as our most valuable items.
I thought that was interesting because I would have thought this.
Yeah,
I would have picked something else.
Yeah, several years ago we had everything appraised for insurance purposes, and they told us that was the most valuable thing that we had.
See, it's just I mentioned Antiques Roadshow in the little introduction. It's just like Antiques Roadshow. You
Right.
just never know what item really has the most value in the collection.
We also have some of our communion tokens here.
This was interesting too. I was totally unaware of this custom at all. I didn't know anything
Right.
about this until you shared that with us. I did not know that this was. Is this
custom.
unique to Presbyterian churches or in other Protestant denominations?
Some of the other churches used it. The Danish and Norwegian churches would use it, but it came from the old country, from Scotland, England, and Norway, and Denmark used the tokens in their communion services. They would be examined by the elders of the church. They would go around and examine the people to see if they're worthy of taking communion.
Oh, no, that's fascinating.
Had you ever heard of that?
Never.
Elaine? I had never either.
Well, if they had been gossiping about the neighbors or did something that wasn't considered a good thing to do, they wouldn't get a communion token, so they'd have to wait till the next communion service
And then be
try to
redeemed.
redeem themselves.
Redeem themselves.
They only had communion once or twice a year at that time.
Okay, all righty.
So they'd have to wait a long while to redeem themselves to get a communion token.
Interesting.
But
Interesting custom.
we made some for our 125th anniversary.
Oh, that's neat.
These are really neat.
These little tokens we made. They were made originally out of metal or wood or any materials that they had available. We also had some black metal ones that we had made for the 200th anniversary. And we do have a couple of those around. The old tokens that we have on display came from other churches that were donated to us, because we didn't have any of the old ones that were ours.
Tell our viewers, how did you and Dick get involved with the historical room?
Well, Ann Connor had been the historian there for years. She's the one that set up the historical room and got everything, learned all about the history. She was a history teacher. So she was a good historian to do this. She also started the Oliver Miller Homestead.
I was going to say, I recognized her name in connection with Oliver Miller.
Yeah, she started both. Well, she found the old school desk sitting in the basement of the church one day and asked them if they could start a historical room. So the session let her do it. They gave her an upstairs room and she started collecting things. A lot of things were stored in barns that some of the early members of the church had. They had stored some of these things. When the old manse was moved, there had been things stored there that were brought over, so she was able to collect a lot of the old things from either some of the members or through that she got it started. And she worked on it for 40 years. But she became ill. She had pancreatic cancer. And she knew she had limited time, so she would get us involved in learning about all the things there. It took several years. We'd go over to the homestead and do some of her programs over there for her. And she gradually taught us about a lot of the stuff and told us where it all was. And I did a taped interview one day with her in the historical room so she could tell us about all the things that were in there. And we were able to create our tour book from that.
You have an event coming up in October, right?
October 15th, we have a Second the Cemetery tour with the Oliver Miller Homestead people that portray the early residents there.
Did your husband, I saw his photograph in the almanac.
He took part in one of the...
Do you do any of that at all?
No, I just organized the tour.
You organized the tour?
Yeah, set up the tours for people and give them the information needed to take the tour and get them scheduled for the tours. We'll do 3 tours on the 15th of October, one at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 3 o'clock.
Well, I know like I said, your husband and I went outside. We had a little kind of brief look around. I would highly recommend this to anyone who's interested in learning more about Bethel Park history, because the cemetery is fascinating to just wander around and look at the markers and the tombstones.
It's not actually a part of the church. It's a community cemetery.
Okay.
It was incorporated in 1907 as a community cemetery. Most people think it belongs to the church, and it really doesn't.
Well, it's just a marvel to, like I said, just to look at the old markers and to realize how far back in time the history of this area goes to. It's one of those things, you drive by every day, you see, but you don't realize until you step inside.
Right. Some of them are badly deteriorated, and a lot of them are lost forever, but there's still a lot of information there and a lot of the old families that you can identify with when you walk through the cemetery.
One thing I wanted to also kind of finish up with, share with our viewers, because I took this off the church's website, and I think it's fascinating. It was very interesting. And a lot of the names that we now recognize, street names and place names, these all actually are the names of the early settlers, the family names that have come down. And they had apparently they had the custom of naming their homesteads.
Right. The community ran from South Park all the way to Bridgeville, as far as where our general settlement was.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the people just, they all purchased their lands, which were large plantations, and they gave them names like the Forge, Gilead, the Land of Canaan, Plain Truth.
Plain Truth, I like that one.
That was Reverend John Clark's property.
Plain Truth. Well, that's a name that suits a reverend, I think, very well. And I like Robert McKee. He named
Deformity.
Deformity. I'm not quite sure
Well,
what has about his property.
most of the properties were outlined by trees because there was nothing else to identify them.
Mm-hmm.
So they had them going from one certain kind of a tree to another certain kind of tree, and so many yards away. And they were large properties. So they were all like plantations.
And William Long, I had to look at that. I had to look that one up.
Lapidosis.
Lapidosis, and that's a word that means stony ground. Lots of stones.
Well, everything was very wooded and rough, and it took quite a lot to clear the land and make it available for farming, because it was largely a farming community, and that's that's what they needed. So.
Was your friend Anna Carner descendant?
No, that's a different Connor family.
Different Connor, but I see Richard Boyce and Nathan Crouch.
Yeah,
and those are names, of course.
right. The Tidballs owned part of the cemetery property. The original part they allowed the church to use to bury their dead when they came here. They didn't buy that part of the cemetery until a number of years later. And then as it expanded, it was Marshall property later, where into Oakhurst there, where they, Dr. Marshall, the third pastor, he had a large plantation there in what is now Oakhurst. But a lot of that property that is cemetery property now came from the Marshall farm.
Pat, I want to thank you today for coming and
You're welcome.
And sharing some of this wonderful history with our viewers. If people would like a tour of the historical room, what should they do?
They can call the church office.
Okay.
And they'll get in touch with us to arrange to show them. Sometimes it's a group that wants to go through. We've had scouting troops. We've had women's clubs, things like that. We had a genealogy group one time. The larger groups we have to take through in sections, because more than 6 or 8 people can't really enjoy the room at one time.
And the dates again for the Bethel Cemetery?
October 15th at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 3 o'clock.
All right, sounds great. Well, lots of things to look forward to doing here in Bethel Park. I want to again thank Pat for joining us today, and we will be back in October. Thank you.
See you then.
I'm State Representative Matt Smith, and I'm happy to invite you to my 5th Annual Senior Fair. The event will take place Thursday, October 6th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Galleria Mall located at 1500 Washington Road. You'll find information about programs and services available to you and your family. My staff will also be on hand to answer questions on any state issues. You won't want to miss the free health screenings and free flu shots. If you're insured through Medicare or other insurance, please bring your card. Last year, over 1,000 people attended the fair and over 500 people received immunization against seasonal flu. This will be my 5th year holding the event, and every year I'm fortunate to have more and more attendees every single year. It has become a one-stop shop for seniors to get information on services available to you. For more information on the event, please call my office at 412-571-2169 or visit my website at www.pahouse.com/msmith. Again, that's Thursday, October 6th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Galleria Mall at 1500 Washington Road. Thank you very much. Hi, I'm State Representative Matt Smith, and I'm happy to tell you about an event that I'm hosting with Bethel Park. It's a paper shredding and recycling event that we're holding on Saturday, September 17th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the parking lot of Independence Middle School at 2807 Bethel Church Road. Consumer fraud and identity theft are occurring with more frequency in our community. To raise awareness and promote prevention, I'm hosting this event with Bethel Park in a safe and secure way to destroy unneeded documents free of charge. The shredding occurs on site and the paper is later recycled. You can even watch the paper be destroyed. You can bring papers containing personal information such as credit card statements, application, bank statements, income tax information, and personal health information. At previously held shredding events, we've destroyed several tons of paper. And if you're interested in obtaining additional information, please contact my office at 412-571-2169. Again, that's Saturday, September 17th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Independence Middle School. Thank you very much. Hi, I'm State Representative Matt Smith, and I'll be hosting a special tribute to Vietnam War veterans on Thursday, November 3rd from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Bethel Park Community Center. I began this effort in 2008 with an effort to recognize veterans of World War II, and last year we honored Korean War veterans. I'm honored to continue this effort by hosting the event to recognize Vietnam War era veterans for their sacrifice to our nation. If you are a veteran and would be interested in attending this special event, please contact my office. While we will specifically be honoring Vietnam veterans, all veterans and their families are welcome to be part of this commemoration of those who served. For more information or to register for the event, please contact my office at 412-571-2169 or visit my website at www.pahouse.com/msmith. Thank you very much.